Hello.
Good morning.
Cheers, babes.
Good morning. Hey, shout out to my amazing wife for taking care of the dog for the last basically 10 minutes. We've been trying to get him to chill out so we can go live.
He's got no chill.
No, he's got
Not
no chill
right
in him. But she was able to calm him down. He's got a new fresh bone that he's playing with right now. So thank you very much for all of your tireless effort.
Yeah, that's
Appreciate
what I do. That's what we do.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Good morning, you. Hello, Robin. Robin. I don't know why I said Robin. Am I a robot saying Robin?
Maybe.
Hair, how you doing? Hey, I wonder if we can do the wave thing again now that we are in a different setup. Ooh.
Oh, you did do it.
Nice.
It feels very exhausting, though. I love everyone, and I want to greet everybody, but doing that the whole time, I'm a little like...
It's like a video game.
Does it feel fun?
Pew, 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 pew. Good morning. How you doing? Welcome to the We're Better When We Come Together
Morning show, or whatever time.
with Dr. Teri Murphy.
And Chris Murphy.
That's me. How you doing? Welcome, everybody.
Hey, friends.
Thanks for coming back to us on a Monday morning.
How was your weekend? Did you have a good one? I worked all weekend long. So here's what I do. When I have to work like intense, it's called an intensive.
While she's telling the story, put in the, I'd love to see what you did this weekend in the comments. And go.
Okay. I was like, what? what's happening? So when I work really hard like that, in a condensed period of time, I used to do this when I would like go heavy into my writing, when it was my dissertation or my book or any of those sort of things too. But anytime that I've got like a concentrated time where I'm like going down, immersing myself and doing a lot of deep work, then I've got to balance that with a great deal of rest. So I came home yesterday. I finished work at 12 and we grabbed our lunch and everything, came home and I ate lunch and then I went to bed. I was in bed starting at probably 1 o'clock. And I stayed there till I fell asleep at around 8 and then woke up this morning. Yeah. And I feel so much more rested. My voice feels better. I did vocal rest yesterday afternoon too. So like everything just feels so much better when I really rest. Oh, I need to read it. Okay. Oh, about us? Oh my gosh, Caitlin. Are you serious?
What? I can't wait to read. Thank you so much.
I'll have to check my email. I'm going to check it after we finish this and I finish my journaling. Yay!
Robin, I'm so glad that you stayed home and rested and relaxed.
That means so much.
Good.
Robin, that's
good
really
for
great.
you.
Relaxation, I don't know, it's like the Enneagram 3 in me, but I am always having to remind myself that I don't have to earn rest. Like it's easy for me to feel really justified in the kind of rest that I did yesterday because I worked so hard Friday and Saturday and then Sunday morning. The challenge for me is to really embrace a culture of rest in our home, and in myself when I haven't earned it, right? When it's not like that sort of capitalist productivity all the time, kind of a thing.
Yeah, I don't have that problem as much. I can rest anywhere, any day.
Okay, this person, I want to ask you this question. Yes, me too, Robin. I want to ask y'all this question. Are you a person that can sleep or nap anywhere? Or do you have to be in a specific place? I'm going to let you guess which one of us is which.
I feel like this is an indictment on my life.
No!
I'm kidding.
No, I'm actually really intrigued. Like, so can you just like take a nap in a chair or on a train or in a park?
Or in a plane? You sound like you're doing a Dr. Seuss rhyme.
I cannot, will not take a nap. I do not care or give a crap.
I get so angry, I will slap.
Now
because
I'm
I cannot,
angry.
will not take a nap.
Give me some chips. It doesn't rhyme.
Chips is so close to
but
rhyming, though.
I really want some chips.
Oh, that's good. No, I've realized that one of the gifts that we bring each other is that we balance out what the other person needs in a really good balance. And so for Teri, she works very hard, and she inspires me to work harder, and I need that. I have problems.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely. I have issues with inertia, so sometimes it's hard for me to get going. but she inspires me to do that because she works so hard. Now, conversely, I am a world-class rester.
Feel that like deep, is that a spleen? What's right here? I feel it right here.
I think that was just dinner.
Okay. I feel it right in the Chick-fil-A pocket. Yeah.
Not on Sundays.
Of course, we really don't do Chick-fil-A right now, but yeah, I feel it right here where I keep my French fries.
You feel waffle fries.
I do.
But I'm a very good rester
lucky.
and relaxer.
I
And
cannot sleep anywhere except for my bed and laying all the way down, flat.
But when you do that, you immediately can pop asleep.
Oh yeah, like as my head's going, I'm asleep here before I get fully, 180 degrees. Like I'm asleep before my head is probably even fully on the pillow. And here's the thing though, I can still talk while I'm asleep. So like we've had conversations that I remember nothing about.
This is true.
Right? Or we'll watch a show, and because I'm fall asleep so early sometimes, so like last night was like 8:00, we'll be watching something together and my eyes will fully be closed and I don't even know it. Like that thing where you're like, I'm definitely watching this show, and be like, oh! And I was like, Don't turn it off. I don't want to lose like our fun time connection together. He's like, you're asleep, sweetie. It's okay. I'll turn it off. I'm like, no.
What's funny though is that
together.
right now we're in a phase where we're watching a ton of the show Criminal Minds. So she falls asleep to Criminal Minds, which there's no downtime in Criminal Minds. It's somebody's
have a murder dream last
somebody's
night.
getting murdered in every episode, and so that's what she's falling asleep to. So I'm imagining your dreams are wild right now.
I have always had wild dreams, though. This is not like only when I'm watching Criminal Minds.
Maybe
Every
it's because you
night
like
of
crime
my
shows.
life, mostly, unless I'm sick, then they're a little weird. Then I have the most vivid, real dreams. This used to happen to me as a kid. Like I had a hard time distinguishing between my dream world and things that happened there and things that actually happened in my real life. They were so vivid and so real. And even the weird ones, sometimes I'm still a little like, did I meet a clown riding a donkey when I was 4? I think I did. Pretty sure I did.
Oh man.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're so, oh, it's so good to talk to somebody else that has a similar thing. Yes, and my dreams are more intense when I'm having intense emotions inside. As you might know, if you've watched us for any day ever, I am intensely emotional. And I think it just shows up in my unconscious or subconscious as well when I'm sleeping, or the stories I tell myself, like, ooh, I got some like novels up in here about that.
Well, Brad agrees with you. He can't sleep anywhere but his bed.
Brad, I'm with you, man.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, and so like it used to be when we were early together and dating, I had a hard time, like if we were going on a trip or like out late, seeing each other, anything, falling asleep if you were driving. Like I had trust and control issues. It's why flying has been hard for me. It's why a lot of things have been hard. Like the childhood I grew up in, from the time I was like around 5 years old. I don't know why I'm saying that with a question mark. I know that's exactly what it was. 5.
5?
That I had to really count on myself. At least that was the story that felt really true to me. I had to count on myself to do things. And so at 5, taking control of things to the best of my ability, it still shows up in adulthood too. And I think it shows up around sleep. And then I'm also a self-preservation subtype on the Enneagram. And so going to bed and regulating myself in those ways is the main way I sort of protect and care for myself.
Are you ready?
Ready.
You all want to know how to fall asleep anywhere? Here's what you do.
Okay.
Have a childhood where you don't sleep at all at night. Like,
Are you talking about yourself?
yeah. Very erratic sleeping schedule. So that when you are in the daytime, you are exhausted
Your bones, like
from not having slept the night before.
Yeah.
And so falling asleep sometimes is an adventure, and like, oh, I'm awake now. I didn't even know that I fell asleep in this little couch or this little chair or this little place in the corner of Starbucks. I must be tired. And then get used to that. And then that's how you can fall asleep anywhere. Airplanes, trains, anything that rhymes with your Dr. Seuss book from earlier. You can fall asleep anywhere when you have a poor sleep schedule, which is what I set up for myself.
Poor sleep schedule, but also a safe childhood holding environment.
Oh, if you want to get serious about it, then
I
sure.
am being serious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's funny. So I wonder, that's really interesting. I didn't feel safe growing up. emotionally or physically, really. So I wonder if that's something to do with it. I would never just fall asleep in public anywhere because I'm pretty certain something bad would happen to me because it did.
But here's where you and I differ, though, which I agree with all of your assessment. I think it's actually wise, what you're saying, because it shows the difference in us. But here's the difference. When she lays down in our bed, the only place where you can sleep, it's pretty immediate.
Instant.
But for me, I stare at the ceiling, I toss and turn for hours.
The only exception is, I don't know if any of you are this way too, if I don't burn all of my energy, like my emotional or like mental energy in the day, if I don't use it all up, I'll toss and turn. Like it'll be much more difficult, or I'll have rough sleep or nightmares or something like that. Or I'll wake up at like 3 a.m. full of energy, not able to go back asleep again. So I don't know if you feel that way, but that's also part of probably the way I've made sense of it in years past is more along the productivity line. Like I need to be like what did they used to say? James used to watch Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah.
It was like he was a something little engine. Like he was a good little engine, or like a heavy working,
something like that,
trusting little engine, something like that. But it was like that. Like that whole show is only about like X plus Y equals Z, and it's hard work plus misery equals like being really good.
You become a good person through your work.
Like it's really interesting. But that I think is how I've made sense of that my whole life, rather than knowing like it's more about how I'm wired creatively. Like I have a certain amount, and it's different every day. I don't ever know what I'm going to wake up with. But every day I wake up with a certain amount of energy that needs to be expended, and I have to expend it physically, emotionally, mentally, sexually, spiritually, emotionally, relationally, in some way. I've got to spend all of today's energy, and then tomorrow I wake up with a brand new store. If
Anybody
I
else
hoard
like that?
that energy, I just don't sleep. I don't rest.
Yeah. Well, I think that
you're not quite the same.
Well, that leads to my inability to fall asleep at night, because I think that we all as humans, maybe there's a little kernel of truth in all of us, that we need to put all those other things to bed before we can put ourselves to bed.
I like that.
And I have a chronic problem with having too many things on my plate. And so I'm constantly thinking like, there's all these things that I need to do. And then there's all these things that I did not do today. And so I kind of spin my wheels when I don't have a lot of energy at night, but then I worry about it, and then I stay up later trying to imagine being done with it, or worrying about not having it all fulfilled.
Do you think that's your one wing, or is it a 9 thing? Like if we had to talk about it through an Enneagram lens, we don't have to, but I'm just kind of curious. It made me think about it.
It's quite possible that there's some perfectionism going on, that like I don't want to do anything unless I can do it perfectly or complete the task.
I get it.
So there could be some of that. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's interesting to look at through that lens.
So which one do you think it is?
One. I'm sorry. The one
Yeah.
perfectionism part that I notice in myself. Yeah.
It's your stronger wing too,
Yeah.
or more accessible to you, maybe.
Certainly more dominant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. We should talk all about the Enneagram again soon. That would be fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of these days. One of these days.
Worrier is a good way to describe that. Yeah, I worry a lot, thinking that I'm not doing what I need to, and so I stay up later, like hashing that out, and then vowing to do more tomorrow, and then.
Do you think
not
I'm
having
a worrier?
Yeah.
What do I worry about?
Not having enough, or not being safe enough in your environment.
Yeah, that's really true.
Yeah.
That's good. Hey, welcome to our therapy session. This is literally like if you came and have coffee with us, which hopefully you're doing, or tea or what have you, this is what it would be like. We would just sit and discuss and talk about thinking about things. Like we would just be hanging out and getting to engage with each other. And I'm really finding this is where I am right here, right now in global pandemic COVID-19 world, is I'm missing friendship and travel the most. That is what is coming up the most for me right now, which is interesting because I feel a little less concerned about physical safety for us, mainly because we don't go anywhere or do anything. So maybe I'm lured into like a false sense of safety in that, because we've taken like the kind of farther end of the continuum of really limiting almost everything. Like I just don't do any of that. But yeah, travel. What even is it, Caitlin? Where are we going to go? What are we going to do? I've had dreams of just like being in the woods or being at the beach. And I'm like I have wanderlust. Like I have it.
Yeah.
That is top of my mind.
Smart.
Like as I'm looking at pictures on Pinterest, looking at things I want to paint or draw or like look at, I just shared this on my Instagram this morning. I've been following the National Park Service on Instagram because it's going to make me cry. Pictures of just beauty. And I'm like, where is it? I am crying. Look, I need it. I need nature and travel and to go meet people who are different from us, who didn't grow up the way that we did, who have stories to tell. And I miss it, y'all. Do you miss it so much? Oh, it feels really hard.
Thank you for showing up.
Yeah.
Not that you don't normally, but thank you for being authentic.
Have you also cried about the National Park Service recently?
Well, it really does lead nicely into what we're going to be talking about this week. So let's continue to talk. And really, thank you. That's awesome. Let's continue to talk about this. And then on the back end of today's show, we can do our quick check-in. But I think it just leads so beautifully.
Check-in. I don't want to interrupt you.
We'll do it. No, I think this leads nicely into what we're going to talk about this week, which is authenticity. We've been talking a lot over the last couple of weeks about how we show up in the world in relationships. Sometimes if we show up in a relationship and it seems like things are too much, we may withdraw. If we feel like that there is missing information that we have to know about, sometimes we pursue to get that information. And so we talked about a lot in the last week about how that shows up in our primary romantic partnerships, about how when it means so much, what do we do? What is our response to having our significant other in the room, how they are interacting with us, and it creates a cycle that we can have conflict with, or it creates a cycle of giving to each other, feeding each other. It can be a positive or a negative cycle. But we just talked about that in the frame of are you a pursuer or are you a withdrawer? And if you're new to us and you haven't heard about this before, Teri on her website, terimurphy.com, has got a great quick quiz that you can go take to find out more about it, to find out what of those you are. And they can change in different relationships. But what we wanted to talk about this week is sometimes when we're trying to show up as ourselves, we have protective mechanisms that come into play, so we're not too much or we're not too little, or we don't feel like that it's time to bring something up, or we have an issue with safety or whatever it may be. And in that, we often can become inauthentic to our true selves because we are trying to maintain the status quo. We're trying not to upset the apple cart. We're trying to be what the other person needs instead of what we need, and so we show up in inauthentic ways. And so my question to you for this week is, how are you showing up? And is it authentic? Because I know for me, for most of my relationship, I will defer what's going on in my body, in my emotions, in my feelings, because I don't feel like that I'm okay to have feelings. And so I push those feelings away, or I push that opinion away, or whatever it may be, because I don't want to interrupt what happens here, the good that we have. But by me holding back and being inauthentic, she knows me better than anybody else on the planet, and she can read me like a book, like these words up here. She can read me, and she knows when I'm being inauthentic. And when she calls me on it, and I'm not yet ready to show up, I will then lie and say something like, I'm fine. I'm good. My eyes get big. My head goes back and forth. My voice goes up, and I say, I'm fine. I'm good. So, in light of that, I want to show up authentically this week and say, sometimes I can be inauthentic, even in this relationship that means so much. And that's what I want to bring to you this week. How are you showing up in inauthentic ways in your primary attachment relationships? And how's that working for you?
Yeah, I love this. By the way, I only just noticed you had that hat on. I don't know what that means, but I was like, oh, he's wearing a hat. I like it.
Interesting.
It looks great. It looks great. I like it a lot. So here, you know me. One of the things that feels super...
You know me. You know how I do. You know how I'm me all the time.
So one of the things that I think is super important when we're talking about words like this, especially words that have had like a buzz, like authenticity, I've seen on social media for a couple years, kind of like a buzzword, like we're just trying to be out here being authentic, or like some branding is like wrapped around this idea of authenticity. And even like you might see on social media, some places where people are like, oh, I ate like mac and cheese, you know, I'm just really embracing life, you know, but you kind of get the sense of like, this is curated authenticity in some ways, and it kind of hits a little weird.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about the definition of two things that I want to talk about: authenticity and integrity. So authenticity, like we looked at the definitions of the difference, because sometimes we use those words like interchangeably, but I don't think that they're actually the same things. Let's talk about them. Authenticity means being genuine. The real, authentic. I know you're not supposed to use the word to define itself, but the dictionary did, so am I.
Yeah,
Literally
it's like
said,
authenticity, to be authentic.
We're like, thanks so much, you know.
So helpful.
Yeah.
Dictionary,
if that really is who you are. Maybe
you
should work on
You're a
some
thesaurus in disguise. We know who you are.
Did you just wear a shirt that says dictionary, but
Yeah.
you're really a thesaurus?
You're just giving us words that mean the same as other words.
I can be a dictionary too, then watch. Terry means Terry. Oh!
I immediately got embarrassed in the middle of that.
Too much.
I was like, I went for it, then I was like, why am I doing this? I'm trying to show up authentically in this moment, and I realized that authentically, I was not being authentic.
We all do it. Okay, so authenticity is just being the real you.
Genuine,
if we're applying the word authenticity to us as human beings, it really means the real us. So integrity is a little bit different. So there's a lot of different definitions, but for me, integrity is my highest value. It's one that is the most important to me. It's the touchstone. It's the one that I keep coming back to because it's the one I struggled with the most in my lifetime. And so it's the hardest for me, but it's also the one that has brought me the most grounding and the most healing. So integrity just means wholeness, right? Integrity means, you know, that it's connected to authenticity. I think that they're connected to each other because in order to be authentically you have to be your whole self. Everything is in. All the parts of you, the parts you love and the parts that you feel ashamed of, the parts that are still messy and in process, that's integrity, all of you. It's not only showing up as the parts of you that you feel safe and comfortable sharing, and we're talking specifically like where you feel safe and that sort of thing, but integrity is all of you. So what happens when we're children is we really get the message from the world or from our caregivers, from the people in our lives, from the way that our personality is, that it really isn't okay to show up as you are. That you're too much or too little, like Chris is talking about. That if you really say what you think, that you then get rejected. You lose love, you lose connection, you lose relationship. Maybe you've been abandoned. You know, maybe you feel like those things are your fault. Maybe you are dealing with worry and fear and shame and anger about the way that you're wired or who you are or how you show up or your preferences even. Those things weren't okay. And here's the thing, none of us make it to adulthood with all of our integrity completely intact, where all of us felt welcome completely, because we don't live in a world that's completely safe. We don't live in family systems that are 100% of the time attuned and responsive and secure. Right? Secure attachment only requires 33% of attuned responsiveness. When I reach for you, you respond to me 1 out of every 3 times. I'm like, sweet, I am set, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
But what happens in the misses, when we're misunderstood, when we are sharing a thing that doesn't quite land, when we're not tuned in, is we get the message back often that what we did isn't okay. Yeah. We internalize pretty often, and so then we start showing up with less than our whole selves. We hide certain parts away, right? We don't share certain things about who we are, where we're struggling, any of those things. And what then happens is we're not authentic. That's how those pieces are connected. When I'm less than my whole self, I can't actually be my authentic self. And here's the truth, is it's not actually safe to show up in all of your integrity and authenticity all the time with everyone.
Yeah.
Right? So there are good reasons we protect ourselves. So when I'm in pursuer mode, I am hiding away my pain. I'm not actually sharing my pain if I'm being critical or if I'm saying, hey, this thing happens, we need to fix it. I'm just trying to get back to a place of safety, but I'm not doing it by really bringing all of myself to the table. That's how I put my shield up. And when I've got my shield up, Chris doesn't have access to me and who I am. And I'm not always honest either. And sometimes I do it before I even know, because I grew up this way of really pleasing others rather than speaking my truth. And so people pleasing is so familiar. I'm so soaked in it, saturated in it for my whole life, that is my knee jerk. And sometimes I have to catch it and go, wait. Actually, my answer is no.
Yeah. See, and sometimes I feel like that can come across to another person as like, why are you lying to me? Why are you doing that? Like, they call you on it, and what you're realizing, I'm going to speak for myself, is what I realize that sometimes it's like, I'm not necessarily lying. I just didn't feel like it was okay in this moment to bring this part of me to this relationship, whichever relationship it may be. So I end up holding it back that looks like I'm being deceptive.
Yeah.
Point in a case. I'm a happy-go-lucky guy. I love...
Really is.
I love having a good mood, but I want to echo what I'm seeing over on Instagram, Enneagram 2, and feel like I can't show up in integrity often because I don't know myself, my calling. I hear you.
Yes, not knowing is so tricky.
Yes, that for me shows up in the fact that as a 9 on the Enneagram, what I desire most is peace. But I often see how the world is not a place where I find that peace. And because of that, it makes me angry. And that anger manifests itself out loud out in the world as kind of being grumpy or being upset at something, which goes against my natural inclination to always be the happy guy.
I love it so much when you're grumpy. I'm just putting that out there. I really do.
I feel like that in here, this is a pretty safe place to show up and be angry when I need to be, which is more often than I would care to admit, because there's just a lot in the world that is not right, and so it doesn't doesn't always come across as like me wanting to punch a wall. Sometimes it's just like this existential frustration with the universe that like, why can't we just stop doing all the things that are making everybody upset? Like,
see it right there?
This is what she calls the 11s.
When you get that, I'm like, ooh, there's some smoke. Where's the fire?
So this is how me showing up inauthentically in moments is not necessarily me just trying to like build a wall and push everybody off. Sometimes it's just like, I don't know how to deal with what's going on right now. So over time, though, when I become comfortable with putting on the smiley face, and when somebody says, hey, is everything okay? And me go, yeah, everything's great. Hear my voice go up again. It's because I'm being inauthentic. And sometimes I have really good reasons for being inauthentic. And then other times I use it just as a protective mechanism that allows the other people in the world looking at me to see like something's different with him. So if we start to compare, contrast how we are in life, what's really keeping us from being our authentic self, hopefully we can create a game plan or at least observe it so that maybe we can change it someday. And that's why we wanted to talk about that this week, is how do we show up authentically when we are inauthentic, and what can we do to become more authentic people? Because when I'm able to sit with my emotions, my true emotions, and express them, I feel better. But I do all of this work, all of this stuff that causes gray hairs and wrinkles over just trying so hard to hold on to being the nice guy, that it comes across in the exact opposite way that I want to come across. I just can't hold it back anymore. So what is causing you to hold back your authenticity? So let's talk about that this week, and what can we do to change it? I'm not going to say that by the end of this week everything is going to be all good, but what I do want to ask
that would be a high promise.
Oh, it'd be great. But what I want to ask you is just let's use this week to reflect on how we're showing up in various relationships, and maybe what we're doing in those various relationships to protect ourselves.
Curious.
I want to get curious. Let's get authentic.
Yeah. And we're sued. Okay, so
that was a parody, and parodies are okay. I've done my research.
Okay, great. So The thing that I would want to offer too is we're trying our best that to have sort of a shame-free community. But that being said, you know, shame is really one of the ways that we really have a hard time then showing up in our authenticity. That shame in and of itself, the nature of shame is I'm not okay. Who I am, I'm wired wrong. There's a flaw inside of me that if I were to really show up with all of me, that's not okay. That would hurt someone else. It wouldn't be safe. No one would like me. I'd end up losing my friends. People would think I've changed too much. It's too hard. Because the truth is, systems, whatever system you find yourself in, and you're in a system, even if you're not in a partnership or you've launched from your family or you're single or divorced or not in a partnership or don't have kids or whatever, you are in a system. Systems want to stay the same. They want to stay structurally the way that they operate currently, and it takes a great deal of energy to break free. So your identity, the way that people perceive you, it takes a great deal of energy for people to think differently about you. It takes 7 times, according to research, for a human being to encounter something that is new or different, for them to accept that new or different thing. Have you ever felt like, oh my gosh, why are you still thinking of me that way, Mom? You know, I told you I don't like whatever. Or I told you, like, I think really differently about this now. If you've ever even just been in a friend group where you used to think a certain way and then you're starting to change and grow and develop and start to talk about things differently and you feel dismissed or like people aren't really getting it, that's not because you're not being clear enough. It's because human beings' brains take 7 times to think differently about you. So continue just being, like, play around. Like, dip your toe in and just see what happens. If you first, your job to you, me to me, is to be in my own integrity when I'm just by myself. Because what actually starts to happen is we chop off bits of ourself with ourselves first to feel better, like we're going to be more acceptable here before we even show up into the world in our authenticity, right? And so first we have to be people of integrity. And so the question I would ask to you is, what keeps me from my wholeness now, even when I'm alone, when I'm writing in my journal, when I'm praying, when I'm just thinking in my own head, when I'm going on a walk, when I'm playing with my animals, you know, when I'm making my bed or when I'm cooking a meal for myself or something, what would it be like to just, even in myself, open some of these compartments and let more of myself just be? When I'm angry, I can just admit I'm angry. When I'm sad, I can just notice my sadness. If I feel kind of numb or nothing's really going on, I can say that. If I'm really feeling joyful, I don't have to hide that. Just self to self and just see what happens, what gets in the way. Yeah. And then write those down. What are the yucky messages that you get? Because that's going to be the thing. You're going to have a story in your mind that tells you to back off,
preach,
to sit down, to adjust it. As a people pleaser too, for me, I can hardly think about my own self and my integrity because I'm so worried about, even in my own mind, how it's going to come across to any other person. Yeah. That I might hurt someone else, that I'm going to make someone uncomfortable, that someone's then going to like use my words against me or take advantage of me because now they're going to know something that it's exposing to be authentic. It is. It is. That's true. Yes. That's why we don't do it. Because if you've ever had an unsafe experience showing up as your whole real self, you're going to have blocks in place. P.S. That's you, because it's all of us.
It's all of us.
So part of our healing, the way that we heal, is not to never hide again, but it's to be really honest about the ways that we hide and the reasons that we're doing that, the ways that we keep ourselves safe.
Yeah. Well said.
Let's wrap this up. Let's get into this life.
Yeah.
And we're going to send you off with a ton of love. Robin had a quick question about going to see your psychiatrist this morning. And I would just say 2 things. Number 1, you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. So go in with what you need and what matters to you and be really clear as you can and explicit about what you want. And then the second thing is really just listen to what they have to say and ask any questions, anything that you may have too. I find that most mental health providers really do want what's best for you, but we're very personality dependent too. So you need to be with someone who's safe, that you really can give feedback to and that you can have a 2-way relationship with, that it's not just them talking at you, but that you can have a 2-way conversation. And good luck. I hope that it goes really well.
Yeah, and for myself and my own personal experience with going to see a mental health professional is that the more I could show up in what we're talking about today, is if I can be more authentic, then I get way more out of it. If I start trying to people please even my therapist to try to give them a better version of me so they don't think badly of me, then I find that I am spinning my wheels and then I'm not showing up authentically, which doesn't really, I'm paying for another opportunity for me to just brag or to act like everything is okay when it's really not.
Oh, that's so good.
And so for me, I need to, when I walk in to see my therapist, I have to tell myself, like, you have to be you today. This is what this hour is for. So the more that I can do that, the more I can sit down and let those emotions come to the surface. Because if I don't, it's just another person in my life that I'm trying to impress.
And then it's going to be work for you.
And then you have to dig out of that hole eventually, or admit the fact that for the last month of seeing you that I have not been authentic, or whatever that may be.
Wait a minute, because I'm pretty sure I'm winning at therapy. I'm pretty sure I'm my therapist's favorite. Isn't that the goal?
Yes,
Isn't that what we're
absolutely.
supposed to impress our clinicians by how much we don't need them?
Yeah.
So
And
they're
there's
just
this
going to pay
little-
you to affirm me.
Yeah, there's this little sociopathic part of me also that, like, if I can fool my therapist into thinking that I'm a good guy,
I can fool
and
everybody.
then I can fool everybody because they're a professional in this field. But that ends up really coming back to haunt me.
Because here's the thing. Your therapist, your psychiatrist, your psychologist, your counselor, not a mind reader. That's not what we do. We are able to help you and challenge you, but it's with what you're willing to share.
Yeah.
Because therapy is not an intrusive process. It is an invitation.
Yeah.
Right? It's an invitation to go deeper. You should be able to consent to every single part of the process. So I'm never going to bowl past somebody's boundaries, even if
Absolutely.
I have a suspicion something deeper is going on.
Yep.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
That's not therapy.
For me as a
Right?
therapist, I'm going to believe you when you say it. And so it is incumbent upon the person who's asked to come to therapy or to see the psychiatrist or to make an appointment with a psychologist, whatever it may be. It's incumbent upon them to show up as authentically as possible. So then the professional mental health worker can work with what you're giving them. Because, you can say that you like blue when you really hate blue, and then it's eventually going to come out. But the whole time you've been lying about this one thing, and they're going to believe you for the most part because
we're not
that's
like
what.
leading the witness. You know what I mean? Like there's not like a version of health that we're trying to like point you to and be like, you're doing better, warmer, hot, you made it.
Yeah.
It's not like that. It's not like that. So people pleasing and whatever, which I do, by the way, in therapy. And I talked to my therapist about this, and we both know that that's a thing. And so I reserve the right to edit anything I say at any point, no matter how long ago it was. And we just talk about that. And then that reduces my shame because it is the way I protect myself, and it is a trauma response for me. So my therapist doesn't shame me for that. And I don't shame clients for even lying, for protecting, because what that tells me is there's a raw spot, a vulnerable place, a shameful place, or a place that needs protection and hiding, and it must not feel safe enough yet to bring it out into the light.
That's a very accepting way to say that.
Yeah, and as we start to structure and support and like build it up, sometimes then it becomes possible to start talking about things that didn't really feel like we could talk about before. So it's okay, right? It's like the cool thing about your health is that it's never too late. You can always circle back. You can always do more healing. You can always offer more love and compassion and empathy in these places.
Yeah. And it makes sense to me that you wouldn't want to have another diagnosis, and that maybe was where the fear is coming from. I get it. I'm the same way too. I don't want to be told that as well. But again, the thing that I've had to realize for my own self is that by not showing up authentically, that is keeping me from a diagnosis that may eventually be something that is helpful to me when I'm able to accept, if I do get a diagnosis, that then now we can work towards health in that arena. It's kind of like not going to the doctor because you don't want to hear that you have cancer when you have a big suspicion that you have cancer. So you continue to avoid to go because you don't want to hear the possibility of that thing being true.
Totally.
I absolutely get that. Having said that, I do that as well. That's in my mind, I'm trying to people please myself.
Oh, that's deep, babe.
By keeping the knowledge of what I really need to grow away from my brain. Like I can't
that
accept
went
that.
all the way down for me.
I can't accept that yet.
I think I do that too.
Yeah.
It's like we have different levels of readiness even for ourselves, and so we even protect and block ourselves. It's like a form of denial, because denial isn't like I literally don't know. Mm-hmm. I mean, it can be. But like denial is also like, I don't want to look at that yet.
Yeah.
I just don't want to see it yet. I know it's kind of there, but I don't want to like directly look at whatever the thing is.
It's like commission versus omission.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Caitlin, I love this too. She said the first time I met my therapist, I was like, I trust you. And she was like, you can't trust me yet. And I was like, oh, that's true. That's right. But if you grew up in a people-pleasing sort of protective strategy, trust was demanded, not earned over time.
Yeah.
So like I would have been physically harmed had I rejected any sort of reaches or said I don't feel safe or needing more information. So it doesn't matter how you feel inside, you're going to lean on the other person in the relationship, especially authority figures. If you grew up in a strongly religious sort of fundamentalist or extreme version of religion, sometimes that can happen too. Like you don't get to trust yourself. You 100% have to trust others regardless of if they've earned that or not too.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have a little bit of both of those pieces. I bet you do too, the people-pleasing piece. So it's deep. It's really deep. So we're going to hop off. We're going to launch you into your day and into your week. We love you and we care about you and you matter so much to us and we think about you even when we're not here, and we talk about you and we pray about you. So if there's any kind of question, anything that you would like to talk about here, even just like sending us a message, please feel free, to do that. We're still a small enough community that we can interact and read every email and read every messages, so for now, we really can do that. And just thank you for your presence here. Every single one of you really matters, and we can feel your presence. So thank you so much.
We didn't do a check-in, so let's take 1 minute to check in. If you've been with us before, start putting in your numbers in the text field. If not, what we do every morning, Monday through Friday, yes, absolutely. We go 1 through 10. How are we feeling? 1 being not good, 10 being amazing. And we just check in with ourselves as a community. 1 is the act of saying it out loud or typing it out loud to the community. So that way that we are providing accountability and just love and acceptance of wherever you are. And 2, it helps us to get into the habit of checking in with ourselves on a daily basis to make sure that really looking honestly at where we are and realizing if our number is low, maybe we need to do some things. Maybe that will make us aware to the fact that we have needs that we need to have met. If our number's really high, maybe it just will reinforce that we're rocking and rolling right now. Or
my hair is having an authenticity day. It's like, you know what, F all, I'm going to be who I am. And it's just defying gravity. And is it curly? Is it straight? It doesn't care.
It's both.
So I'm going to try and engage the way that my hair feels today.
We'll do it. Then what would that be?
I'm a 7 right now.
Ooh.
Yesterday I had a 2.5 to 3 time in the morning, especially heading into my work day, because I was just, have you ever had that
exhausted
feeling? So it actually felt like every cell was deflated and tired. And then because I've been, something about doing therapy sessions online, I just yell at the camera because I want to make sure that people can hear me. And when I'm trying to be empathetic, I have to be louder than I actually feel like I am in real life. So I was in some physical pain too. But today I'm at your baseline. I'm at a 7. What's your number?
I'm at a 7 as well. I feel I feel really good today.
Lois is 2.
Yep.
Anxiety.
I'm excited about
Charlie's at a 4.
the week coming up. Yeah. But I'm seeing 7s and 4s, some anxiety. So we also put in emojis if that's a better way to express yourself.
What emoji? So if you were going to add an emoji, what would yours be?
You know what? Is that one with the arm doing a curl, like a muscle thing like that?
Ooh, I love it.
And not because I feel strong, but because I have energy to go. So that's what popped in my head. What about you?
Oh, a bunch of pine trees, because I want to go into the national parks.
Oh, gotcha.
You make me cry again. What is it about travel and going somewhere and then coming back home that feels so like,
I hear you, sister. Absolutely.
It just feels so amazing. So we did this exercise where, like, if you close your eyes, if you knew that the year was going to end in December and you had just 6 months ahead of you and it wasn't COVID, what would be the one thing that you would want to make sure that you could do before the end of time, before the end of your life, before the end of the world? What would it be?
Such a good question.
We had the same answer, which was really surprising. It was super cool. And it's a great question just to ask yourself too, because that will tell you what you actually really need. If you're curious and you're not quite so sure, having those kind of visualization exercises can be super helpful. All right, we're gonna go ahead on a walk or a hike.
Go take that walk. We're gonna do it too.
Yep. We love you bunches. Thank you for being here. Thanks for checking in and taking your time to spend with us this morning.
This morning was great, and it was great because we were able to all talk back and forth. And so the more, the merrier. Continue to ask questions, to comment in here. Thank you so much, Caitlin. We're going to go read that newsletter. Hopefully, can you figure out where to find that? Okay, good. We love you all. You got this. Go knock it out of the park today. I hope to see you again tomorrow. If you know anybody else that would appreciate this talk this week on authenticity and integrity, please feel free to reach out and let them know as well. We love you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.